Hey everyone, how's it going? Aaron Rift here from NoDQ.com. I am being joined by panel members, the PA sensation, Greg Cherry, as well as Virtue here on NoDQ.com. So we have the 2017 Money in the Bank pay-per-view, a very controversial Money in the Bank pay-per-view. A lot of mixed reactions to this show. Before we get to the results, real quick, Virtue, your overall opinion of this show.
I didn't watch the pre-show, but I was sitting there playing Nintendo as I was watching the show. I didn't hate it, but I didn't like it. So it was another, to me, status quo, middle of the road WWE event. I won't even call them pay-per-views anymore because you can get them all on the WWE Network. So I'm going to put it right in the middle range. I don't want to grade it yet because I haven't given it thought for a letter grade. Maybe by the end of the review. What do you think, Greg?
Well, first of all, I want to say happy anniversary to my wife, 6 years of marriage. And also, since I didn't cover it on TSE, congrats to the Pittsburgh Penguins for winning the Stanley Cup. Now, on to the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. I actually enjoyed the show. It's not one of my favorite shows that they've done. I thought Royal Rumble topped it. But, I enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to see where they go from here. Yeah, there were a lot of controversial moments, and we'll get into that, I'm sure. But I enjoyed it for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a pretty good show for the most part, but I did have some issues with it, and we'll talk about that, I'm sure, as we go through these matches. So let's start off with the pre-show match, which really nothing to really note about. It was Zack Ryder and Mojo Rawley, the Hype Brothers, as I like to call them, and people get on my case. Yes, I am very unhip and uncool, but I do not give a damn. They're the Hype Brothers as far as I'm concerned. But they defeated Primo and Epico. Pretty much your standard kickoff match. Greg, anything you wanted to note about this match?
There wasn't anything really of note in the match. It was just a standard tag match just to put over Zack Ryder being back and Mojo Rawley being a tag team. And maybe they'll be thrust into the tag team title picture since they still have, if that's still holding up, that number one contender spot from the Battle Royal. So I guess we'll see what happens.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh. I didn't see it. I didn't see the match, so I won't say anything on it, but I'm sure I'll catch it on SmackDown.
Well, there's really, yeah, pretty much. I get what you're saying there. I did note in this match that Ryder was selling his knee because of the injury that he had. That's fine and dandy, except for the fact that throughout this show we had people selling their legs and selling their knees. We'll talk more about that. It seemed to be in like 3 or 4 of the matches tonight. It was a little ridiculous in my opinion. But yeah, let's move on here and talk about the Money in the Bank ladder match. Now, I felt that it was fine for what they did, but they did not really take the risks that you would see in a men's Money in the Bank match. There weren't a lot of big spots involving the ladders, and it was fairly short too. And then, of course, the big finish here. I think we all thought that James Ellsworth would play a role in this match. I thought when Ellsworth got in there, I was like, okay, yeah, he'll help Carmelo win. We were expecting that. But then he climbed the ladder and grabbed the briefcase. At this point, I thought, okay, they're going to have the referees reverse the decision. No, the referees argued a little bit, but then they decided that that's the end of the match. We have a Money in the Bank winner. James Ellsworth won the match for Carmella. So this was like something straight out of WCW, just something completely ridiculous and really setting a precedent here, a precedent where you can have anybody come in theoretically and win the match on somebody else's behalf. So, Virtue, we'll start with you. Your thoughts on the match?
Yeah, it was definitely a slower pace versus a normal like men's Money in the Bank ladder match. I do want to give props to Charlotte. I do like when she goes to the top and flips and twists and she lands. But like, she could have done that off of a ladder. I mean, You have 4 ladders in the match. And so it's kind of weird they really didn't use the ladders that often. Going to James Ellsworth, I thought he was going to get involved. To me, maybe he should have pulled one of the other girls down that was trying to get it to allow Carmella to go up and get the briefcase herself. So I wasn't a big fan of him climbing and dropping it. I felt that the false finish, maybe the match should have been continued. I think a lot of people felt that way. And had it been continued, maybe Carmella went on to win it herself, that would have been okay with that win then. What do you think, Greg?
See, I don't agree with the way the finish happened, but in the same breath, Carmella is a heel, so she's going to have a cheap finish. So Ellsworth getting the briefcase for her and throwing it down. I mean, obviously, we've never seen anything like this in a ladder match in WWE. But like JBL said throughout the show, there's no rule against it. So really, I don't know what the controversy is because anything goes in that kind of match.
So in a no DQ match, that means anybody can win a match on somebody else's behalf, have somebody else come in and win the match for them. Does that mean, like, if Randy Orton and Jinder Mahal had a no DQ match, does that mean one of the Singh brothers can come in and pin Randy Orton? Is that? Well,
no, this isn't the Attitude Era. What I'm saying is, like, Ellsworth had the briefcase and gave it to Carmella. Therefore, Carmella got the briefcase.
So it's like Andre the Giant surrendering the world title to Ted DiBiase.
Here's what we'll ask all the viewers. Leave in the comment section. Do you think Carmella should have climbed the ladder herself? That's the way you should win a ladder match. You climb yourself. Or is Ellsworth dropping the ball down to her, so to speak? Is that okay? Then we can get a feedback. Maybe do a poll on that, Aaron.
And I just find the funny thing, too, is that this match was supposed to be about the women breaking ground here. And in the first ever women's Money in the Bank match, it's won by a guy on behalf of a woman.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just
That's
really
Vince
weird.
McMahon. That's got Vince McMahon's handprint all over it.
Yeah. I thought this match itself, I thought it was too short. Anything either one of you want to say about the quality of the match overall? Anything you want to add, Virtue?
No, I mean, it was the first women's Money in the Bank ladder match. My grading scale's whack, so I'm probably going to give it like a B minus, but it had so much more potential. And so me giving it that grade is probably like you guys calling it a C match. What do you think, Greg?
See, I don't want to give individual match grades, but I will say I thought the hype video for the match was better than the match itself. Of course, WWE's hype video team are probably some of the best in the world, honestly.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think they put in the effort and it was pretty good, but I was expecting more from it, and definitely the finish I thought brought the whole thing down. All right, so next up we had the tag team titles match, the Usos versus the New Day, which I actually thought was a pretty good match. But then they did a count-out finish where the Usos were about to lose, and they decided to hell with it, and they just took off and took the count-out loss. Now, I'm fine with this on TV if they do a finish like this, but on the pay-per-views, it kind of gets on my nerves a little bit. I mean, I guess we're in this era now where it doesn't matter because we're paying $9.99 instead of $49.99, so I don't know. I just feel like even if you're paying $9.99, people that are paying to watch this, you should have something that's a little bit more decisive, in my opinion, and not do the cheap finishes. Greg, we'll start with you. Your thoughts on the match and the count-out finish.
I thought this was actually one of the matches of the night. And the New Day and the Usos, I mean, they're two teams that can really bring it. And the count-out finish, I understand. They want to continue the feud. And it makes sense because, again, the Usos, cheap heels, they want to walk out with their titles, and they'll take a count-out loss because it means they're still the champions. I mean, it's a smart thing for the heels to do. Is it a lame finish? Absolutely. Nobody's ever like, yay, count-out finish. I don't think anybody has ever said that in the history of ever until right now. But I don't know. We'll look forward to something, perhaps with the New Day and the Usos at whatever the next SmackDown pay-per-view is. Because I don't know the names anymore because they keep changing them.
Right.
What do you think?
I wasn't a fan of the finish. I wanted to see a 1, 2, 3. I wanted to point out Big E thought he was a little bit stronger than he really was. Obviously, he didn't catch one of the Usos, and there was kind of a semi-botch. He did his best to do the John Cena, Roman Reigns, pick him up, brute strength. So I always notice little botches like that. Kofi made up for it. Kofi had a nice jump backwards, splashing down on the Usos. I did enjoy that. I was arguing with some people online because they thought, Kofi, you're taking away from the rest of the show. Who can top that? And I'm sitting there thinking it's Money in the Bank. Greg?
I was going to say, at least Big E didn't land on his neck with the spear to the outside this time, so that's a plus.
That is a plus.
Usos and New Day, I mean, they've wrestled each other quite a bit. It wasn't horrible. But, again, I think our issues, a lot of fans' issues, always come down to booking, finishes, and, again, it just felt status quo.
I agree on that. Yeah, I did enjoy the match, though, like Greg said. I thought it was definitely one of the stronger matches of the night, maybe the second best next to the main event. Next up, we had the SmackDown Live Women's title match, Naomi versus Lana. Lana actually came out second. The champion came out first. People actually complain about this, which I find funny because they've been doing this for years. I mean, going back to like WrestleMania 5, Hogan came out last and Savage was out first as the champion. So it's been happening for a long time. I just found that funny that people are still complaining about that. To me, that was not an issue. The match itself, I thought, was okay. I mean, Lana did not look terrible, but then again, she really did not do a whole lot in this match. It was very basic. You had Carmella coming out and teasing that she was going to cash in the briefcase, which I actually thought would have made more sense because I guess the idea is on SmackDown, Daniel Bryan's going to have something to say about the controversy. So if you're Carmella in the storyline, wouldn't you just try to cash it in right away? So that would avoid Daniel Bryan like reversing the decision or making her have to do another match to win the briefcase or something like that. So to me, that would have actually made sense if Carmella did that, but she did not. She just came out there, distracted Lana, so you have a heel distracting a heel, which was weird, which led to Naomi winning with the submission hold. Virtue, your thoughts on the match?
It sucked. Lana is as green as your shirt, but it's not her fault. WWE is the top of the wrestling world, and she should have been in NXT wrestling more. And now again, I see promise. The two snap suplexes, Naomi carried her. The snap suplexes into the rope, Naomi sold the leg. That's your issue with the legs getting sold all night.
Yeah.
But I just think overall it sucked. Why even have Naomi wrestle? Defend the title on this show? Maybe she should have just been out there in the women's championship match. But it is what it is. I felt it was more filler than anything. Greg.
Yeah, I didn't care for the quality of the match. And there was really no heat to the match because we didn't really know, other than that WrestleMania 32 10-woman tag, what Lana could do in the ring because we've never seen a televised match from her other than that. So there was no heat to the match. Carmella coming out, I agree with you, Aaron, that she should have cashed in, maybe taken advantage of Naomi being down and said, ha, I cashed in the briefcase, you can't do anything about it. That would have made perfect sense. But, of course, WWE, perfect sense. They don't go together.
Where was Shane?
I don't know. Shane wasn't on the show at all.
That's weird. So you have neither Shane or Daniel Bryan at one of their major pay-per-views.
Yeah.
That's just, I don't know. I'm not a fan of that
either.
We got to stop asking questions. No more questions here. We're asking too many questions here.
That ruins the concepts of our shows.
Yeah, exactly. Next up, we had a Fashion Files segment, which led to a tag team match. We'll talk about that in a minute here. We had Mike Bennett and Maria, and Mike Bennett is no longer using the last name Bennett. He's now using his wife's last name. I'm not sure what the deal with that is. I mean, somebody said it might have been because of TNA, but I thought Mike Bennett was using that name in Ring of Honor. Correct me if I'm wrong on that.
He was.
So that would mean he should be fine to use that name. I don't know what the deal is with that. But anyways, it's now Mike and Maria Kalinas. And they came out. They had this love-themed Titantron, and they were talking about the power of love. So this was okay. I mean, I guess we'll have to wait and see how this plays out. Interesting debut for the two of them. Any thoughts on this? Greg, we'll start with you.
See, I like the fact that they did it, and JBL with the line of the night after it happened, so he took her name,
yeah,
and then he just puts his head. But Mike Bennett and Maria, they'll do fine. They'll do fine. WWE. It's nice to see that Maria's not the bubbly character that she was on her last. She's like the first lady that she was in ROH and TNA or Impact Wrestling, whatever. Who cares? So it's nice to see that they'll get a chance on SmackDown Live, and hopefully they can do something. I'm not going to crap all over the gimmick. It's like, oh, this is terrible. It's like, it's their debut. We'll see how it goes. It's like, give it a chance.
Right, yeah, of course.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Is it Kanellis?
Yeah, Kanellis.
I think it is.
Kanellis. Okay, I thought you might have said Kalinas.
Yeah, I think I butchered that.
Nonetheless, I mean, Maria used to be a WWE superstar. I think she only went by Maria back then, but so it makes sense that WWE is going to package Mike with her last name. It's just a weird thing. And have you ever seen in wrestling a guy using his wife's last name or however that goes? So it's something different. It might draw some heat, some questions. So I kind of like it. weird as it is.
Yeah, I thought it was all right. I mean, I think people that were complaining about it are definitely jumping to conclusions and being too quick to judge. All right, so next up we had the WWE title match, Jinder Mahal versus Randy Orton. It was, with the exception of the legends being at ringside, you had Cowboy Bob Orton, Ric Flair, and Sergeant Slaughter, and a couple of AWA legends, Larry the Axe Hennig. Besides the legends being there, this was almost the same match as the Backlash pay-per-view, right down to the Singh brothers interfering, Randy Orton taking them out, and then getting beat by Mahal's finisher. So to me, this was very predictable, very by the numbers. I was pretty bored with this match personally. Virtue, we'll start with you. Your thoughts?
They had a lot of heat when it started. Now
That's
that
true.
could have been because of all the legends, Orton's hometown,
Yep.
St. Louis. I'll tell you this every time: Randy Orton plus the Singh brothers plus the announce table equals $. So I could watch that over and over and over again. But then looking at the rest of the match and the finish, it was a carbon copy of Backlash. So when I'm looking at a table spot as the most memorable part of a match, now all of a sudden, maybe are we questioning WWE's direction even more so with Jinder Mahal? I know Aaron is. What about you, Greg?
See, the table spots at Backlash were better just because of Orton's face after he dropped the one on his head. But I agree. It was a carbon copy of Backlash. I mean, honestly, and this is going to sound terrible, I didn't know Larry the Axe Hennig was still alive.
Oh,
so
wow,
I was like,
that's bad.
I popped for him, man. I was like, yeah.
It was cool to see him. It was cool to see Baron von Raschke too.
Hi, Kitty.
And Mr. Fluffity back on the show. But
ratings.
Yeah, it wasn't anything to write home about. It was very predictable that the hometown guy was going to lose. I think between Naomi and Kurt Angle, the only two people in WWE history to break that curse of the hometown person not winning the championship.
Right, yeah. It's very rare.
Yeah, I didn't really care for the match. I think I was playing Candy Crush during the match or something.
Right on.
Apparently, Rusev must still be hurt because wasn't Rusev supposed to come back and get a title shot? And if he's going to be a heel, that's going to be kind of strange going after Jinder.
I guess that's not happening now. Rusev actually did tweet something out during the show saying, "I've had enough of this" or something like that, and he never showed up. So I guess it was just him trolling the fans again. I have no idea what's going on with Rusev. I mean,
probably still hurt. He's probably still hurt. The shoulder.
Why set up that angle for him to appear on TV then?
Maybe he'll come back as a face. I mean, Mahal and the last time we saw Rusev, Mahal and Rusev were a team, but they were like fighting against each other. So maybe that'll be the continuation of a storyline.
That would be a really good one. I would be all for a face Rusev push.
Yeah, I mean, the crowd was chanting, "Let's go, or not Let's go Rusev, we want Rusev" during Lana's match.
Yeah. So I guess we'll see what happens, but I wouldn't be opposed to seeing a babyface Rusev.
Rusev crush. Well,
I'm sure he'd be entertaining too.
Yeah, come after Jinder Mahal.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, we had the tag team filler match of the night, which was Breezango. I guess they're maybe transitioning. They're going to be the Fashion Police now. Maybe that's going to be their new name because they're using that name a lot. Breezango for Breeze, Fashion Police, whatever you want to call them, against the Ascension. The Ascension apparently was the team that did whatever they did to Breezango's. What was I'm not even sure what the damn storyline is. That's
they attacked Tyler Breeze on SmackDown.
Okay, because I'm like paying so little attention to it, and for good reason. The Ascension on a pay-per-view. This would have been a great opportunity to maybe bring back American Alpha as heels and do something different with those guys instead of the Ascension. What the hell is going on with American Alpha? Those poor guys. I mean, they were so hot when they came in, and now they're just not even getting TV time. Any thoughts on this match, Greg?
I mean, like you said, it was just a filler match. It was just a match to fill time before the Money in the Bank match happened. It was okay for what it was, a weak finish, but I'm not going to rant about this match because it just killed time. That was all it was for. I like the Fashion Police, but that's about it. Virtue?
Yeah, when you have a semi-squash match and the Fashion Police are going over, It just shows you where this pay-per-view lies, in terms of overall quality. Now, when I say that, don't get me wrong. We always talk about the booking. The wrestlers and the workers, they do go out there and give it their all for what they're given.
Right.
I like Fandango. I like Tyler Breeze. I'm glad they got some little niche storyline. It serves a better purpose on SmackDown because of their backstage segments than I think is a filler match on a pay-per-view, but it is what it is.
Yeah. I just wanted to say the cat equals
used.
ratings.
What's that?
I wanted to say the cat equals ratings.
Yes, Mr. Fluff. Don't leave. We'll lose ratings.
Yeah.
People stop watching.
He wants a pay raise.
Get him a no DQ shirt.
He's not the only one.
What are you trying to say?
That's an off-camera discussion, Aaron.
Well, then I'm going to have to give everybody a raise because it's got to be a democracy, right?
Exactly.
You're going to have to take your complaint to the good people over at Google/YouTube. That's the case. Anyways, main event time. The Money in the Bank ladder match. Main event, the men's Money in the Bank. Kevin Owens, AJ Styles, Baron Corbin, Sami Zayn, Dolph Ziggler, and Nakamura. Nakamura was attacked by Baron Corbin as Nakamura was making his entrance. So the match began without Nakamura. It was just the 5 guys. I thought this was a great match. I mean, it was more or less what I expected, and I expected, some cool spots and a lot of memorable moments, and we got them in this match. Everybody worked really hard, and it was a lot of fun to watch. So I was happy with it. Baron Corbin ended up winning the match, and before the finish, we had Nakamura coming back out, cleaning house. We had a tease for a future AJ Styles versus Nakamura match, which was really cool. I enjoyed that. And then Corbin ended up knocking both guys off the ladder, climbing up the ladder, and winning. I know some people were unhappy about that, but, I mean, we all figured Corbin was going to win. I think, did all 3 of us predict Corbin? I'm not sure.
Well, I didn't do predictions, but, I mean, it was assumed that, Corbin would win.
I think we were all going with Corbin. I mean, that was the pretty obvious direction that Corbin was going to win this. Greg talked about Corbin winning months ago, so it's not like this was something people were not expecting. So I cannot say I was disappointed in that because I was expecting it to happen. I thought the match was very good. Did it save the pay-per-view from being a dud? I think it did help the pay-per-view. And, we'll go over the letter grades here in a minute. But, Greg, we'll start with you. Your thoughts overall on the match and the finish.
Easily match of the night.
Yeah.
The spot with AJ and Nakamura was cool. And I hope they don't, rush it and do it at SummerSlam just to get it done. I hope they save it for WrestleMania like they've been teasing for a while. I enjoyed the match. I always hope for an end-of-day spot because I love that finisher, but he hasn't done that in the last several pay-per-views, which is driving me nuts. But I enjoyed Corbin winning because I said back in January with Jeff on Coast to Coast, remember that show, that Corbin was going to be a WWE champion this year. So he needs to cash in before December 31st and win the title for my prediction to be right. So I'm very happy with it. What do you think, Virtue?
Imagine a match before it even starts having psychology. So what did everybody want to see? Nakamura's entrance. What did Corbin take away? Nakamura's entrance. Now, I think that was done because I don't think WWE wanted Nakamura in a lot of those intense ladder spots. So you notice when he finally came back in the match later, it was all mostly in-ring action. I don't even think Nakamura did anything with the ladder other than carry it over with AJ and then climb up it a little bit. So, and of course, when Nakamura came back, the crowd was electric. The tease with AJ and Nakamura was fantastic. Hopefully we get that at WrestleMania. The move of the night, and with all the ladder spots, I want to watch this. I'm going to go back and watch it when we get off the show, was the suplex that Zayn gave Owens on the ring apron. Absolutely phenomenal. And I think Owens took a couple big bumps that match.
He did.
So I love the match of the night. That match brought it up to my B- range for the whole show. That's how good of a match it was, and it should have been. I mean, Greg and I secretly booked all those superstars in that match. You know that, don't you?
Greg, your thoughts?
Yeah, we even put the little PWG apron suplex spot in there. So there you go. I've been watching a lot of PWG highlights lately. But it was a fantastic match. I enjoyed it. I really hope Corbin cashes in maybe at SummerSlam so he can have a little bit of a run with the title before it goes off to AJ Nakamura, perhaps at WrestleMania. So
maybe
it is the overall pay-per-view for me as well.
Yeah, maybe John Cena beats Mahal at SummerSlam, and then Corbin cashes it in on Cena.
That's very possible. Wouldn't be the first to cash in on Cena.
Because I could just see Cena winning the title just so he can break the record, and then Corbin cashes it in right away. And that's the end of Cena's title reign. But hey, he breaks Ric Flair's record, so there you go.
Good call. Yeah. Good call.
We'll see. We'll see if that ends up happening. So letter grades for the show. Virtue, you said B minus.
I'm going to go B minus on my scale. That would equivalent to probably a C or C plus range for you guys. I'm a weird accountant, so that's why.
I think Greg's going to maybe give it a B minus too, but I'll let him speak for himself.
Okay.
I think it's going to be a C plus for me. Greg, what do you think?
I'm actually going to give it a solid B. Like I said, I enjoyed the pay-per-view. It wasn't fantastic, like blow away. The main event, obviously fantastic. But solid B pay-per-view, and that's mainly because I got all match but one right. I missed Lana and Naomi, but grand scheme of things, I did pretty well for myself. So I give it a B. I enjoyed the show. I'm even looking forward to see what they do with Carmella and Ellsworth on SmackDown.
Let's see here. NoDQ.com's poll. 46% thumbs down, 30% thumbs middle, 19% thumbs up, 6%
so
did not
gaining
watch.
ground, thumbs up then.
Well, I think it's gaining more middle votes from earlier, but still, that's not too good for a pay-per-view with a pretty hot main event. Just goes to show how the booking can really affect the show in a negative way for some people. And that was my real big issue, was the booking, as it usually is with the WWE pay-per-views. Like, the wrestling quality is always there. It's always really solid, but it's the decision of the people in charge that really gets me scratching my head. But overall, I enjoyed it. I wasn't like really bored with any parts of the show that much. I felt that it was a pretty solid show from start to finish, entertainment-wise, of course, for $9.99. Hard to complain when you're not paying $49.99. Now, if we were, that would be a totally different story. But it is what it is, and that'll wrap it up for our video. We'll get the plugs in real quick. Virtue, we'll start with you, and then Greg.
Follow me on Twitter at NoDQ_Virtue. Go over to NoDQ.com. I just posted a new article today about love triangles in wrestling. Greg?
Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at PA Sensation. Check out the Sensational Experience on this channel. 10 episodes up there currently. You can check them all out. Send me some questions on social media and on the YouTube page, and that's pretty much it for me.
All right, sounds good. Thank you guys for being on. Thank you all on the YouTube channel and NoDQ.com for watching, and we will see you guys next time. Oh, yes, and get a shirt at ProWrestlingTees.com. Search NoDQ. Check out the link in the description box, and we will see you guys next time.